Currently the minimum stakes have opened up a lot, so you can fit a lot of ICOSA into a 90-day or 180-day account. Whereas before, like I remember only being able to stake like a few couple hundred ICOSA in a 90-day account, uh, or else it'll go overboard. But now, these coins. So like, let's talk about Bitcoin. Let's talk about hacks, and let's talk about sort of like the whole point of like these sort of inflationary models of these cryptocurrencies is when you're doing Bitcoin mining, the whole point is to be profitable, right? So you buy your equipment, you buy your stuff, and then you mine the Bitcoin, and the whole point is to be profitable. That's sort of like the same thing, the whole idea with Hex. In my opinion, what I think is you buy your bag at Hex, right? Let's say it goes up 1,000,000%. Now you're able to stake and live off of your interest, right? You can just mine, you can secure, quote unquote, secure the network just like you would on Bitcoin, but like you're doing now on Hex, and then you can just get rid of your inflation, and then that way you're profitable, right? So you never have to sell your money printer or your like ASICs, which what it would be for Bitcoin, or your Hex, which is what it would be for when you're staking Hex. You never have to sell that. You can just sell your inflation, right? With ICOSA and stuff like that, I'm looking at it sort of in the same way, where you can purchase your original stack, and it is I think Crypto Sloth coined the term iShares. I really like that. So like as the T share rate increases, it gets harder to mint ICOSA, and then that sort of like that ability to mint is sort of like an iShare. So think currently, like if we go to look into Hedron, uh iShares calculator, input the number of ICOSA. So let's say 100 ICOSA. Let's see how many iShares this is. So it's about half an iShare. So right now, 200 ICOSA is about one iShare, and that costs like $10 or something like that, compared to maybe $100 to get an actual T-share. So that's one thing I like about ICOSA is it involves all the same principles as Hex. It is the T-share. You can also stake it, and it doesn't have to be for 15 years, and you still get to earn like the same sort of like compounding interest that the T-share simulates. So how I'm looking at ICOSA now is if you are able to purchase a big enough bag size, and if this project is successful and you own like a chunk of the supply, you will never, and we'll see what Alex does with the whole V2 stuff, because I'm not exactly sure how that'll work. But if ICOSA, it's weird because it has inflationary, deflationary metrics. So sort of it's weird, as the price goes below the ceiling, it'll start to inflate less, and then obviously when the price goes above the ceiling, it'll start to inflate way more. So what my point is that the ceiling price is not a physical place that the ICOSA price cannot like physically or like digitally on the screen go over. It can go over the ceiling price. The ceiling price is just where an arbitrage opportunity presents itself between like the contract codes. So basically what I'm saying is, if you are able to purchase a big enough stack of ICOSA right now, when no one's paying attention to it, when no one really cares about it, not only ICOSA but like Hex and even PulseChain right now, like not very many people are paying attention. If this stuff becomes successful, and let's say ICOSA goes over its ceiling price, you're not only going to make insane US dollar price appreciation, but that inflation that starts coming in will be absolutely insane. Like it'll kickstart again, at least in the way the current system works with the current code. And you'll start to I guess bankroll in some good cash, and that'll be, it's weird because you'll have the highest inflation when the price is the highest, because you have the arb that's basically bringing the price down, and people are trading in their T-shares. That inflation, sorry, I lost my train of thought, but
And trying to calculate the value of the T-shares, I believe.
basically like I completely lost my train of thought, but
It's all right.
whenever you're staking ICOSA, you'll be able to hopefully earn up a big enough portion of your bag to where whenever you stake it, sorry, I remember now, when the inflation when the price goes over its ceiling price, the inflation will start kicking up because more people will be incentivized to trade in their HSIs to mint the ICOSA, and then that brings more HSIs into the auction, and then more people can bid on those HSIs, which means more ICOSA inflation for you. So it's weird. As the ICOSA price increases, especially past the ceiling, so does your inflation. So what that means is that you're gonna get like almost like it's a money printer squared. You're not only receiving price appreciation in US dollar term, but you're potentially receiving more inflation rewards because as the price is going up, potentially past ceiling price, it'll start inflating more and you'll be able to receive a big portion of that. So that's sort of what I'm looking at right now with ICOSA. A T share used to cost, what is it, 60 cents or something like that, sub 60 cents, 56 cents. I can't quite remember the exact amount for the T share, but it went up way over $10,000. So ICOSA represents that. I'm not exactly sure how the next V2, how exactly that code is going to work and what Alex is going to build. And again, like no expectations of profits from the work of others. But if you purchase, like let's say 0.1% or 0.001% of a coin supply, and it does extremely well, like go do the math on like the hex. Like if you own it, it's like if you own like a dolphin position in hex, you have a quite sizable amount of T shares, and you can get a dolphin position in ICOSA quite easily, right? And if it turns out to become even slightly successful, you might be able to just print cash and never have to sell your principal, type of thing.
I quite prefer, having larger positions, whale, dolphin, otherwise, in coins that I know are going to be around for a few years that have a system that are like have positive feedback loops for the chip coins I like versus, coins that may not be around but a month or two and they're all set up. There's insiders and it's, hey, let's get as much money as we can and get it out of the system, and it just goes away. I like these. I like having bigger positions and healthier games to play, such as this awesome Hedron ecosystem.
And I think Alex is a great founder as well. I don't see, like, I think he's like a Richard 2.0, I guess you could say. Like he understands.
If Richard was a dev.
If Richard was a dev, I think that's what Alex would be. Yeah, exactly. So they both share that same sort of values. You can tell with their coins. Like ICOSA and Hedron, they're not vampire attacks on Hex. If anything, ICOSA eats negative externalities to support the other two systems. So there you go.
Very cool. Yeah, it's. I know it feels like everyone's forgot about Hedron, ICOSA the past few months. I'm glad just to get some, just some conversation around it, and not, especially with Hedron 2.0, seeing how that's going to transition, whether people are going to trade it in or not, who's going to stay with the old system, the Wattses, and again, said it earlier, like nobody's burning Wattses right now because ICOSA, it doesn't make a lot of sense to have the. I mean, I guess you could burn them and then take the ICOSA and do other plays, do other yield plays and stuff with it. But the market has decided that the Wattses are worth keeping right now. It seems like, and they were getting burned at a very large percent. I feel like earlier this year it was like every day. I saw Dev Huey, posting the stats and stuff, and with the Watts of burn account. But it's been it's like if we get like one a week or one every 2 weeks, it's an event. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's also, I guess you could say, a little bit good for ICOSA inflation as well. Like no one's wanting to like just go out and like market dump the cheap ICOSA. So at least like people are seeing that like the price is down. Maybe they don't necessarily want to go up and like purchase the supply themselves. And we're seeing that with like Hex and even Pulse and stuff like that as well, right? Like many people aren't willing to just like pick up a large chunk of the supply. But whenever this does happen, like we were talking about earlier, if there's some sort of altcoin mania that happens over on the Pulse chain, I think ICOSA and Hedron are the blue chips, right? We saw like altcoins or meme coins earlier this year sort of pop up and go. We saw some on the Pulse chain as well, and those kind of like, I'm not too sure how they ended up, but some of them not so well. But we'll see. I think Hedron and ICOSA, they are the ones that are being forgotten about, and they are also like the blue chips, right? Like the hidden gems. So, yeah.
Well, Well, I wanted to ask on that too. Now that we got different platforms and stuff to do, I've talked about this with Sloth a little bit around. Before it's kind of like a no-brainer: staking, getting the yield, staking your Hedron, staking your ICOSA, all that stuff. Now we have platforms where you can do LP. Maybe there's farms and otherwise. Is it, do you think V2? Do you think Alex has seen this and said, "Oh, I wonder." You think there'll be more incentives in V2 to have more native staking, or is it kind of just like, okay, it, I just wonder if the staking is being crowded out by the other ways to earn yield on the coins within this ecosystem.
Absolutely. So right now, for example, like over here on Fox, if you wanted to provide some liquidity, there's the P Hedron, P hex, W Hedron, P ICOSA, W ICOSA pair, and currently like this is paying out like a decent APR. Like we can check it out here, and right now doing this is probably better than staking your Hedron. And not only that is we're not seeing a whole lot of HSI volume just in general of people like trading HSIs and doing all that. And I think the ecosystem's sort of like it's people aren't paying attention right now. With V2 and stuff, we will see what Alex incorporates, but I think I'm not too sure about the staking, but I think in terms of usability of the like utilities of the actual Hedron and ICOSA, I think a lot more people will be incentivized to use them, and if using them indicates like yield, like if that's how it's derived, like somehow you use the contract or you interact with it and that gets derived into yield somehow, maybe that means more yield for us stakers, but that's just something we're sort of going to have to see and wait. I know ICOSA is going to have soon like a dynamic ceiling price, I guess, where like you mint all your value up front, but some of it's staked out for a little bit. So we'll see how that works out into the future as well. Um, as well as in this pool, like you can't really stake that much W Hedron or P ICOSA or W ICOSA. So when V2 comes out, you'll be able to take like ICOSA from Ethereum and stake it on the Pulse chain. I believe from my understanding of from what Alex was saying, you can like interoperability, like do whatever on whichever network with whichever token. So maybe instead of less people maybe staking on Ethereum if the gas fees are too high, or less people staking like some of their ICOs on the Pulse chain because like they don't think the yield is worth it. Maybe that some of the stuff changes with Alex's project, but that's sort of just something we're gonna have to see once stuff is released.